World War II had many heroes, ones that made a difference on the battlefield, leaders that inspired the nation, and peacemakers that went against everything else. But this is about a unique hero. Louis Zamperini was a prisoner of war from 1943 to 1945, surviving through miserable beating mainly because of his Olympic past. This caused Zamperini to live through an overwhelming mental battle post-World War II, to where he wanted to kill. Zamperini's wife then pushed him to get better, which soon led to a spiritual journey. Zamperini found peace with everything that he went through, with his ability to forgive. Zamperini started as a lost cause, but through it all became an inspiration and an American hero. Zamperini often got into trouble as a boy, after getting bullied by other kids at school because of his inability to speak English. He didn't have an outlet, which led to multiple infractions with major rules and even the police. Louis' brother noticed the struggles and suggested track. At 15, Zamperini compromised his objective life of crime to try something he didn't know he was capable of. Track was the outlet he was looking for. The former terror of Torrance was starting to turn his life around, making plans and setting aggressive goals. His determination paid off. He beat the national high school mile record. He even got the chance to run at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Germany. In the Olympics, he ran a 14:46.8 5,000-meter time. He got in 8th place, but his last lap was an outstanding 56 seconds. Though Zamperini was certainly prepared to win at the next 1940 Olympics, Nazi Germany had other plans. The Nazis attacked Poland on September 1, 1939, which is when World War II began, and the 1940 Olympics would be rescheduled. But it wasn't until December 7, 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, that any hope of Zamperini going to another Olympics would be destroyed. Zamperini would join the Army Air Corps and would be assigned to serve his country as a B-24 bombardier. According to Laura Hillenbrand,
in the Army Air Force, there were 52,651 stateside aircraft accidents over the course of the war, killing 14,903 personnel. In the 3 months in which Zamperini and his colleagues trained as a crew, 3,041 AAAF planes, more than 33 per day, met with accidents stateside, killing 9 men per day.
Zamperini and Phillips boarded a ship to Ofuna, an undocumented prisoner of war camp in Kamakura near Yokohama, Japan. The Green Hornet was flying at 800 feet when the left outboard engine died. Everyone on the left side of the plane passed away. Louis and 2 of the men survived on a raft, Russell and Phillips and Francis McNamara. They suffered from enemy B-24s and shark attacks, injuring McNamara, who later died from the injury. When people come to the end of their rope, they turn to God. Louis had never prayed to God before. On the raft, Louis recited, "If you save me, I will serve you forever." Zamperini and Phillips were both captured and put into cells at Kwajalein, also known as Execution Island. Zamperini stated in Devil at My Heels,
"After nearly 2 months of floating under cast-open skies and infinity seas, I found myself locked in a cubicle the size of a dog kennel. The instant claustrophobia made me want to scream, but I was too weak. Instead, I lay down and looked at my body. Just 6 weeks before, I'd been a vigorous athlete who could run a mile just over 4 minutes. Now I was flesh was skeletal. All my life, I kept my emotions tight in check when it came to my own troubles, but I could no longer help myself. I broke down and cried."
The Japanese had other plans for the two, so they left Execution Island alive.
Ofuna was a secret high-intensity interrogation camp run by the Japanese Navy, hidden from the populace and all relief allegations. There would be no Red Cross supervision, no improved treatments, no humanity. I want to be registered as an official prisoner of war. Men left the camp to either be executed or relocated. If you died there, no one would know but your brothers in arms,"
said Zamperini in Devil at My Heels. After just over a year at Ofuna on September 30, 1944, Zamperini was transferred to Omori. Omori was the Tokyo headquarters for perhaps 30 other POW compounds. On the way over, Louis was told that he was lucky to be assigned to Omori, but he would soon find out that was not true. Omori was a brutal prison camp. Prisoners often died of abuse, neglect, and malnutrition. But it wasn't until Zamperini met Munishiro Watanabe, also known as the Bird to the prisoners, that his life would really become miserable. Louis has experienced tough guards before, like Suhara Kitamura, who got a death sentence for his actions at Ofuna after the war. But according to Louis in Devil at My Heels,
compared to the Bird, Ofuna guards were country gentlemen.
As time went on, Louis started to get an idea of why he was not executed at Kwajalein. Though that Olympic fame encouraged more beating on him, it was also what kept him alive. Louis would next be used for propaganda. He told everyone that he was still alive when he gave a radio broadcast on October 18, 1944, for the Japanese postman. Zamperini didn't know whether his family would be listening to the Japanese radio broadcast, but it was better than his silence. Though it was for propaganda, the Japanese knew about Zamperini's presumed dead notice because it followed standard U.S. protocol. Japanese propaganda makers wanted Zamperini, world-famous Olympian, to keep making broadcasts. Future broadcasts would not be allowed by Zamperini. They would be written for him, with false phrases like,
"I hope the folks back home are properly notified of the fact that I'm still alive and intend to stay alive. It's certainly a sad world when a fellow can't even be allowed to live. I mean, the fellow was killed off by a so-called official report."
From Devil at My Heels. When Zamperini refused to be on the propaganda broadcast team, he was ordered to another POW camp, Natsu, on the western side of Honshu. Louis was assigned to Camp B4. There waiting was the bird. When the war ended because of the Hiroshima bombing, the bird hid because he was sure to be put on the war crimes list. Louis had nightmares every night after the war, mostly about violence towards the people who hurt him. With his wife, Cynthia Applewhite, in 1949, their daughter Cynthia Battles Zamperini was born. After that, Louis seemed like he was going to be alright, but he was out of control. Most of his nightmares consisted of the bird choking him to death. One night during a dream, he woke up choking his wife. Cynthia decided that she had to do something about it. It was time to end their marriage. She didn't go through with the divorce, but one day in September of 1949, she heard of a young preacher named Billy Graham who came to LA. She went to the town alone and came home hoping it would change her husband. As his nightmares worsened, he agreed to go with her on one condition, that when Dr. Graham said every head bowed down and every eye closed, they were leaving. "What kind of life are you living? Are you satisfied with your life?" were the words that caught Zamperini's attention. He was about to leave, but couldn't resist. He had also turned Christian, and for that night, in a very long time, he had no nightmares. In October of 1950, he returned to Japan, even though he was convinced he would never do so. The city was still recovering from a firebombing in 1945 when the war ended. After returning to Ofuna and Omori, Louis contacted General MacArthur for permission to visit Tsukumo prison, where many of his guards were serving sentences. In Tsukumo, there were all 850 Japanese war criminals. He met with the Weasel, Susaki, and even the Quack, a guard similar to the bird. One thing stood out while at Tsukumo prison. There was no sign of the bird. He was never found. In 1952, President Truman authorized a general amnesty and all imprisoned war criminals were released. After Watanabe resurfaced from a cabin near Nagano, where he had been hiding. It was more about the acceptance than seeing the bird to Louis. So he wrote Watanabe a letter.
"This is to Matsushiro Watanabe. As a result of my prisoner of war experience under your unwarranted and unreasonable punishment, my post-war life became a nightmare. It was not so much due to the pain and suffering as it was to the tension of stress and humiliation that caused me to hate with a vengeance. Under your discipline, my rights not only as a prisoner but also as a human being were stripped from me. It was a struggle to maintain enough dignity and hope to live under the war's end. The post-war nightmares caused my life to crumble, but thanks to a confrontation with God through the evangelist Billy Graham, I committed my life to Christ. Love replaced the hate I had for you, and Christ even said, 'Forgive your enemies and pray for them.' As you probably know, I returned to Japan in 1952 and was graciously allowed to address all the Japanese war criminals at Sugamo prison. I asked them about you and was told that you probably had committed harikiri, which I was sad to hear. At that moment, like the others, I also forgave you, and now I would hope that you would also become a Christian."
Louis had many conflicts in his life, but what made him the legend he is today wasn't his accomplishments or persistence. It was how he reacted and strived for a better life after he knew he was going downhill. "Forgiveness is the fragrance that violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it," said Louis in an interview with John Maroney. "Forgiveness is what saved Zamperini's life, not his conflict. If you save me, I will serve you forever."